Good evening, everyone. It's been a while since I've released a video, mainly because I've been busy. But tonight we're going to talk about the reason I've been busy for the past few months. I just completed a rotation at the National Training Center as a forward support medevac platoon leader. And this video is going to be the first video of a series of 2 videos. This video is going to cover preparation for the National Training Center as a forward support medevac platoon. And then my next video will be the actual rotation itself. So that's what I've been up to for the past few months. And I gotta say, it was a lot of good training. Now, like I said, this video is going to cover preparation for the National Training Center. Obviously, a lot of people do not like NTC, and I myself fall into that category. However, sometimes it is a necessary pain to prepare for certain things that the Army wants you to do. So let's jump right into it. What is NTC? Well, NTC is, as I just mentioned, the National Training Center. It's at Fort Irwin, California. And it's used as a validation exercise for brigade combat teams, also known as BCTs, and all of the units that go into supporting BCTs. This validates units and is basically, as long as they do good at the National Training Center, they get the stamp of approval that they are validated to deploy to support combat operations worldwide. So that's what we're going to be going over, and this will center around the Forward Support Medical Platoon, also known as the FSMP. As most of my audience knows, I am a Forward Support Medical Platoon leader for an air ambulance company, and although there's a lot of useful information that will come out of this video for all people in the Army going to NTC, it will mainly center around the FSMP. So let's jump right into it. Preparation. I broke this down into a few phases. Phase 1 is coordination. So the minute you find out you're going to NTC, hopefully it is several months out before you actually go to NTC. For me, I found out probably in October, November, and we went to NTC in March. So several months before. And the coordination mainly comes down to 3 organizations that you're going to want to coordinate with immediately. The first organization you're going to want to coordinate with is the host battalion that is going to be the task force headquarters. For me, it was an attack battalion. In the Combat Aviation Brigade, you have several battalions that could be the task force command. You have attack, you have the reconnaissance battalion, you have the air assault battalion, you also could have the general support aviation battalion. For me, like I said, it was the attack battalion. So immediately whenever I got the op order that we were going to NTC or the Warno, I reached out to the battalion to get as much information as I could from them. You want to link in with them immediately so you can start going to all of the meetings that go into planning NTC. The second organization you're going to want to coordinate with is you're going to want to get that op order or get that warning order, and you're going to want to know who the BCT is that you're actually supporting. For me, it was not a BCT that is at my home station. It was a BCT from Fort Bliss. It was 3rd BCT. And I reached out to them. The main people you're going to want to talk to as a FSMP PL are is the brigade meadow of that BCT. So as soon as you reach out to the aviation task force, you're going to immediately want to also reach out to that BCT meadow and The main thing you want that conversation to center around is you want to tell him or her what you are going to bring to support that BCT from a medevac perspective. For me, it was 3 HH60s, 3 crews, and you want to tell him that you're ready to tie into his plan and you want to be integrated in supporting that BCT. Conversation was point blank that I is what I had with the BCT Meadow. Is I said, hey, I'm bringing a bunch of guys, bringing a bunch of helicopters, and we want to fly our asses off. So I need you to make sure that happens. Looking back, after the NTC rotation was done, there's 2 other people that I would add to the point of contacts that I'd want to coordinate with from that organization, and that's the Roll 2 commander and the BSB commander, if possible. But if you can't get those 2, you definitely want the BCT Meadow. The third organization you're going to want to talk to is your OC that's actually at Fort Irwin. This is extremely important. I was a ground medical officer before I came over to the 67J world. So I know a lot about medical operations from the ground standpoint. So when I did talk to my OC, I was asking all the right questions. However, if you don't have a lot of medevac background knowledge and you are fresh out of school, that OC is going to be able to steer you in the right direction on how to prep for NTC. They want to set you up for success so you have a good rotation. So those 3, Aviation Task Force, the BCT you're supporting, and your OCs. Another point that I want to make whenever you finally find out that you're going to NTC, you want to immediately go on the offensive. Do not get in this reactionary state of mind. And what I mean by that is a lot of units will be like, hey, we don't know if we're going to NTC. It might get pulled, or you guys might not go. It's always like that. Every single time you go to NTC, I feel like it's always like that. Don't allow yourself to get into this reactionary state of mind. Immediately tell your platoon you're going to NTC. This allows them to prepare themselves for it. It also allows you to prepare your platoon for it. Imagine this. If you played sports in high school or college and you play football, right? If you were told you might play a football game on Friday night and it's currently Sunday, you might not play this very important football game, and you're like, well, okay, we'll find out if we're gonna play or not. And on Thursday night they said, hey, yeah, you're actually gonna play in this football game. You're not gonna be prepared for it. If you're told on Sunday night that you're gonna play, you might play in this football game on Friday, and you immediately say, no shit, we're gonna prepare our asses off for it. And you start working out and training and doing all your plays on Monday. You got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By the time they tell you you're going to play the game on Friday, you're going to be more than ready and you're going to do really good there. So my message is to not allow yourself to get into this reactionary state. Always be on the offensive. This takes us into phase 2, the validation exercise. So the validation exercise is a field exercise normally done at your home station, and this allows you to go out to the field, do your what you're basically going to do at NTC, but it allows you to do it at home station. So if you have any hiccups, you have any equipment malfunctions, you can figure it out there. You're going to test your CP setup, you're going to test your crews, you're going to test your standard operating procedures, and you're going to figure out what your weak points are, what you need to work on, and really find out if your equipment is in the state that it needs to be in to go to NTC. If not, you have plenty of time to fix it before the rotation. I was lucky that the task force that I fell into had the validation exercise. They hosted it. If you find yourself in a task force that does not have the validation exercise, I highly recommend you do your own platoon internal validation exercise, because this will make you money later on at NTC. You don't want to find out that your commo equipment don't work when you get to NTC. You want to find that out before you go. So this takes us into phase 3 pack out. So you're going to immediately come out of the field after that validation exercise, and if you're lucky, your containers are going to be there. You could take what you took out to the field and throw it into your NTC containers. If not, you definitely want to make a note of everything that you brought out to the field that worked, that you want to keep the same, so that you can put it in the containers when they finally get dropped. Also, you need to have a sit down with the key leaders in your platoon. So that would be obviously yourself, your platoon sergeant, your section leader, your IP, your MTP, and find out anything that you guys didn't have that you wish you would have had at the validation exercise to get it added to the NTC list. Also, during pack out, make sure your people are licensed on the vehicles that you're going to take to NTC, and make sure you have signature cards. It's very easy. It happens all the time. Units go to NTC and they find out there that on their military driver's license, they're not licensed on the specific vehicle they're drawing from NTC or they brought from home station. And it's going to be a bad day when you get to NTC and they say you can't drive your vehicle, because you're going to have to conduct driver's training there. And that's just one more massive pain in the butt that you have to add to your to-do list once you get out there. So make sure they're not only licensed on the vehicles that you're getting at NTC or you're bringing to NTC, also make sure they have the equipment qualifications, trailers, NG certified. You want to make sure all of that's done before you go to NTC, because it'll be a bad day when you get there and you find out that you don't have those qualifications. Phase 4, the NTC cross countries. This will be your favorite part of NTC. You want to make the cross country as fun as possible. For our route of flight, we flew over the Meteor Crater in Arizona. We overnighted in Lake Havasu. We, on our way back, we flew through the Grand Canyon. We had a phenomenal time. Use this as a time to really have a good time with your platoon. Obviously, do everything responsible. Be a leader. You don't want to go out to dinner and get, slammed. But use this as an opportunity. As long as your command is cool with it and you're in accordance with AR 95-1, go out to a nice dinner, have some drinks, laugh, cut up, have a good time with your people, and then get to bed at a reasonable time, make good decisions, and go jump into NTC the next day. But use it as a good time. The cross country is the funnest part of NTC, there and back. It's more fun on the way back. Now, another thing I want to hit on this, use this as an opportunity to get your PIs, to get signatures on their PC list. I know the pilot in command checklist varies from unit to unit, but for our unit, we have a part where we have to operate in a class Bravo and a class Charlie airspace as the simulated pilot in command. Every single PI that went out to NTC got that signed off on their way out there, and if they didn't get it on the way out there, they got it on the way back. And there's a whole lot of things that you can get signed off on your PC checklist at NTC, and that really buys your PIs in on this. Also, get them involved in the plan. The cross-country planning, both ways, is a perfect opportunity to get those PIs involved in planning. And when you get your team involved in the plan and you stop being a hoarder and trying to micromanage everything, people in your platoon are going to be bought into the plan. They're going to be more invested in it. So this is a great opportunity to start that for your NTC rotation. Also, I want to mention that if you want to fly through the Grand Canyon, piece of free advice is A lot of people act like it's so hard to fly through the Grand Canyon because there's all these rules. There's literally hardly any rules. It's pretty straightforward. There is a VFR sectional for the Grand Canyon, and you can read all of the rules for the Grand Canyon and the FAR under Part 93. It talks about altitudes, radio frequencies, and the corridors for general aviation. So that's a piece of free advice. People act like you need an act of Congress to fly through the Grand Canyon. That is not true. There are corridors assigned to general aviators, which you will fall into that category. And then that brings me to the arrival at NTC. So when you arrive at NTC, your first 3 to 4 days are going to be super busy. It's all admin heavy. You got pre-po draw, you got miles draw. You got to draw your individual miles, you have to draw your vehicle miles, and you have to draw your aircraft miles. Super pain. It's a super pain in the behind to get all this shit done, but you have to get it all done before you jump in the box. The one thing I want to add to your arrival, once you're doing all of this pre-po draw, miles draw, and you know, opening your container and everything, you also want to make time to coordinate a face-to-face meeting with the BCT MedOps people, because this is going to be your last opportunity to meet with them face-to-face until you jump into the box. So typically, just like all of my videos, I do story time. So for this video, we're going to do story time based on the validation exercise that my platoon did before going. So it was 5 days long. We brought 2 crews, 2 aircraft. My NTC package was 3 crews, 3 aircraft, but for the validation exercise, we did 2 crews, 2 aircraft. Between those 2 crews, we roughly flew 20 hours in those 5 days. So that's a lot better than we would have flown if we were sitting, you know, back at the company just doing day-to-day operations. So we got a decent amount of flight time out of it in those 5 days. Things we learned. So the drash generator, in my opinion, is garbage. 5Ks are more reliable, and in my story, I'll tell you why. And then always bring a backup for everything, mainly commo equipment. Commo equipment is the worst. And what I mean by that is extra KGV-72s, extra hard drives, those little elbows and those little teeny tiny cords that go to your power amps and stuff. Bring extra of those. That stuff gets dirt and grit in it. It gets stepped on. It breaks really easy. And if one little elbow or one little wire can totally ruin your mission, like you lose comms with everybody if one of those little things go out. So bring back up everything when it comes to commo. So story time. So for the validation exercise, we brought the drash generator. And for those of you who don't know what a drash generator is, it's the big trailer generator that has an air condition unit on it. And I always thought these were the best things in the world before this validation exercise. My section leader was airing up our air beam using the air pump that was connected into the hub that the generator was connected into. And we got the air beam pretty much almost aired up, and he turned off the air compressor. And that by him turning off the air compressor and not having anything else connected to the hub, it knocked the generator out of phase. I didn't know what the heck this meant at the time, but the generator was still running, but you couldn't draw any power off of it. So like I was saying, like the generator motor, it was all making noise and everything, but the minute you tried to plug something into the hub, it wouldn't charge anything. You couldn't get power off of it at all. So the only thing the drash generator has is a green light and a red light, and the red light was blinking and it was saying that it was out of phase. We got the drash generator mechanics to come take a look at it, and they basically just stared at it and was like, I don't know, man. Good luck. So that concerns me slightly with Army generator mechanics, but it was basically our problem. So that night, we slept in our air beam tent. We didn't have any power to go to it, and here in Kansas, it gets really cold in January. So it got down to around like 7 or 5 degrees Celsius, or no, 7 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit in the tent. We were freezing. And yeah, it was all because we knocked our drive generator out of phase. We made it through the night. I felt really horrible because as a PL, I'm watching everybody in my platoon freeze to death. And we got up the next day. We ended up getting a 5K generator and making everything work. And the next 4 days were great. But yeah, it was a tough night, tough lesson to learn. Fortunately, that's why we used a 5K generator for NTC. I'm not making that mistake again. So that pretty much wraps up the preparation for NTC. I wanted to cut this series into 2 videos because the box alone spans over 2 weeks, and it's going to be a video talking about all the flying and all the cool missions and all the DVE training that we got to do in the box. So stay tuned. The box video is coming, and thank you guys for all the support.